Welcome into the Field Vision Football Podcast. I am Felix Johnson, joined by our head of football operations, Cody Alexander. I almost got you guys mixed up. Cody Alexander. Cody, how you doing today, big dog?
Doing good. I've been called Cole and Colby and any other variation of that, so no problem there.
Well, we're joined by Cole Deruse from How About Those Chiefs. So, Cole, how are you doing today? We were just talking. I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. It's been a rough couple months, but overall, it's been a great couple years. But how are you doing today? And then we'll talk about the Chiefs and their draft and all that good stuff.
Yeah, heck yeah. It's time to turn the page from the disaster of Super Bowl 59. I mean, it was crazy that they made it to 3 in a row. Obviously, hats off to the Eagles. They completely dominated that game, but it's been a couple months now since then. The draft is over. We're looking ahead to the next season and moving on. But yeah, doing well. Just followed Chiefs rookie minicamp, and they're just kind of doing their thing with the 90-man roster, making some moves here and there. And as we gear up for the next season, I'm excited.
Absolutely. And Cody, unfortunately, is a Denver Broncos fan, so we'll just put that aside for
I mean,
now.
I'm from Kansas City, though.
But
I mean, I'm
who
from
do you
Kansas
rep
City.
on Sundays, Cody? Who do you rep on Sundays? That doesn't matter.
That's not as close as I get.
But Cody, you love defense primarily. Yes. You love football more than anything, and so you love all of the defensive coordinators and all that good stuff. And so I want to dive directly into what Kansas City did in this draft. And I said this in the last week and a half or so since the draft. It's kind of a Brett Veach draft where it was just a bunch of defensive backs. Go get a tackle because you need one. Go get an edge rusher because that's just kind of what you go get a bunch of them and see if they work. And Karlaftis might be out of the door at next offseason. So how do you feel about this most recent draft? Josh Simmons obviously feels like a steal in some people's eyes, but to me, getting the fifth tackle off the board is a little rough, especially after a run. So how are you feeling about this specific draft and Brett Veach?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. Just quick note on Karlaftis. They did pick up his fifth-year option, so he should be around next year, but could he be traded or something crazy like George Pickens did today? Who knows? I liked Karlaftis a lot. And yeah, what they did in the draft, I mean, if you kind of look at all the draft analysts and how they feel like teams did, you average out the grades. I mean, the Chiefs are probably in the top 5 just as far as sticking to the consensus board and not reaching. And that's what Brett Veach has been very good at doing, because when you draft at the end of all these rounds, it's champagne problems, even though the Chiefs weren't the ones popping any champagne this year. But when you have to pick at all the ends back into these rounds, you have to kind of stick to your guns. Or if you're going to move up, you got to do it in a calculated manner. They actually moved back 1 with the Eagles, got that 5th round pick that they used to get linebacker Jeffrey Bossa, who wore the green dot last year as the middle linebacker. And yeah, they made a couple great moves. I think you asked specifically about the D-line. Omar Norman-Lott was a rotational guy, but that's how that line at his school kind of operated. They had like 6 guys that they rotated in and out. He can win. Pair him up next to Chris Jones, not Nick Jones. Chris Jones, and I like that. He's going to get some opportunities there. But yeah, the defensive end room, when you just look at it from like longevity standpoint, Hugh's on a 1-year deal. FAU is still a bit of a question mark to me. You can get out of Mike Dana's contract after this season. So you are getting a guy who trained in the offseason with George Karlaftis. He's kind of a mix, a blend of Karlaftis and Dana, Karlaftis with bend. So I do like the moves that they made. Jalen Royals as well, the outside receiver from Utah State. We'll see what happens in the pecking order this year with him. But overall, I did like the draft personally.
Okay. Well, and I just thought it was kind of interesting, and specifically with Josh Simmons and with the offensive line issues that Kansas City had. Obviously, great from between the guards and traded away Joe Thuney, but still expect some really good play there just because it's Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. The offense is going to figure itself out. I'm going to show you here with Field Vision Pro some of the weaknesses in Kansas City. Running back, obviously, having Isaiah Pacheco go down in the middle of the season was kind of rough. Kareem Hunt wasn't he's getting 3 and 4 yards every carry. And then obviously the receiver room being the mess that it has been in the last couple years. Are you a little frustrated to not see any movement with getting a trading up in the first round, not saying going to get Tet McMillan or whatever the case may have been, but being more active in free agency or whatever the case may have been, just to say, we just lost to a team that has 2 legit receivers. Go get your 2 legit receivers, especially if Rashee Rice is going to be out for half of the season. Still, maybe some question marks around Worthy. Where do you stand on the weapons issue with Kansas City?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, trenches win championships. And if you can protect Patrick Mahomes, you're winning games throwing passes to Marcus Kemp, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and MVS. Like, sometimes, I'm not saying don't give Mahomes weapons, but sometimes if you can't protect him, it doesn't really matter. You kind of running back the 2024 game plan that actually was decent in theory, but you never really got to fully experience it because Rice out for the season after week 3, week 4, Hollywood out for almost all of the season with the sternoclavicular dislocation, first snap of preseason. So with those guys healthy, and then Worthy coming into his own the back half of his rookie year, I do like that trio a lot. The offense was clearly funneling through Rice the first 3 weeks of the season last year. Like, it wasn't even close, his output even versus Kelsey's. Then I think you had to really rely heavily on Kelsey again, which didn't look like that was the initial plan to start last year. So I actually don't mind the addition of Royals and then running it back with the guys that they have, because a lot of the issues there was just really the revolving door at left tackle and then all the injuries, Pacheco included. And when some of these guys came back, Hollywood, Pacheco, they still weren't quite right. Or I feel like Hollywood was still they were trying to figure out how to use him in the offense. Like, cause you kind of had to scrap the game plan heading into the season because he missed almost all of it. I will say this, you beef up the O-line. It is very helpful. Jalen Moore on a 2-year deal. You get Josh Simmons. I don't know if he'll actually start this year or not. I don't think he will, but you never know. He was one of the top tackles in this draft pre-injury, could have went top 10, top 15 if he wasn't injured. So the fact that he fell to the Chiefs, I love the calculated risk. There's some risk there with his injury, but I love the idea of trying to get somebody to protect the blind side of Mahomes. You kind of were looking for that guy ever since Eric Fisher hung it up. You did trade for Orlando Brown Jr. You gave up a lot to get him. It didn't work out long term. And since then, you're like just searching and searching. So if you can protect Patrick Mahomes, I think the offense will figure itself out to a certain extent because you still have playmakers. You then have the running back room real quick. You have Pacheco coming back from injury. He should look better. Kareem Hunt will actually have a full offseason to prepare. They signed him off the couch week 2. He said after his first game playing with the Chiefs, he was so sore he couldn't get out of bed. So he was playing catch up all season long. But this year, you'll have full offseason. You do have Elijah Mitchell, which, if he can stay healthy, is at least an intriguing low-risk guy. Brashard Smith, you drafted in the 7th, probably one of the best pass-catching backs in the draft as a former receiver. I do like how things are looking. It's just this year, it's can you stay healthy, where the injury luck last year worked mightily against them, yet they still managed to figure it out and make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Go ahead, Felix. Sorry,
Cole. You hit that pronunciation on sternoclavicular. I just wanted to give you your props on that, and then go ahead, Cody. You can talk your football X's and O's nerdy stuff. Go ahead.
Well, I just I really think you're kind of spot on with I think they had a plan last year. It didn't go right. I think they still feel like they have that. In that, I think too the kind of the ascendance of Gray at tight end, I think kind of answered that question with Kelsey. As you really watch as that season went on, Kelsey is obviously still Kelsey, but you saw Gray have a little bit more of a role. I like that 12 personnel that they're going to have with that. I think that allows them to kind of do some other things, and then they can kind of, rotate some guys around in that receiving core to kind of figure out where they want to go. Worthy, obviously, they started moving him down the field a lot more instead of just giving him the Rice kind of get that shallow cross, get that cross in, throw you on the move. They started actually pushing the ball down the field, which I thought was really good. I 100% agree with you on Pacheco. He just did not look the same when he came back. Him being 100% healthy, I think helps there. They're such an efficiency monster, and they were able to win. And I go back to how roster construction in the NFL has to be. Felix, me and you have talked about this before, about when you pay a quarterback as much as you're paying Mahomes. Now they've got a good deal with Mahomes, but still, you start looking at paying these top end receivers 30, $35 million. Would it be awesome to have a guy like that?
Mhm.
Yes. But then now your whole offense has to funnel around that. And that's not what the Chiefs do. That's not what makes them special on offense. Like I said, they're an efficiency monster. And if you add that in there, a lot of times that can, unbalance the offense or throw off the equilibrium. When you have a guy like Mahomes that can get the ball to where it needs to go already, you just need to have a satisfactory run game and then have guys that can get open in against zone coverage. And I think we saw that last year. You ran into an absolute monster in the Eagles, who were built to beat the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest, it was not a matchup that the Chiefs probably wanted to have, because they could play man outside, they could pack the zone. Kelsey was not able to get the ball at all. So I think offensively, Felix, to your point, why first, second round could have gone for a receiver? Why didn't you? I think having a swing, people too forget, having a swing tackle, whether it's a rookie or not, having that third swing tackle is crucial. Having a swing inside guy is crucial. So I think they got a steal. If you really think about it, like you said, Cole, it's top 10 guy that fell because of injury. If they can get him healthy, obviously they probably have a little bit more injury information than we do, so they felt comfortable with it. You were able to get that guy. Now you got a top 10 tackle at the end of the first round.
Yeah, and
100%.
the trade down too to get the pick. Go ahead, Cole.
I was going to say 100%. I agree with you. And they're in a situation where with Simmons, he doesn't have to come in and make an impact this year per se. In a perfect world, he's good to go somewhere during the season just in case of injury. Just what you said, swing tackle, because he did play right tackle early on in college, so he can play either side, especially on the left side. Like, I think Wanya Morris could be, in case of emergency, backup right tackle. He looked okay in his limited reps on the right side. I don't really care to have him back on the left side. So if Josh Simmons could be that guy, if God forbid Jalen Moore got banged up or something during the season, that is probably the best case scenario for Simmons. He can sit, learn, grow, get that knee right, and then just come in case of emergency sometime during the season. But hopefully it doesn't have to happen unless he's just doing that well. And they're like, hey, he's best 5 out there and Simmons is 1. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, because it ends up being one of those deals where if he's healthy and ready to go, you just stole a starter at the end of it. And I think this is also another thing that, like, internally, if you're not going to be a starter, it's really hard to draft you in the first round, right? So especially these guys, like, he was ranked as a top tackle. The reason why he dropped was purely off of injury and availability. So if you draft a guy, it's one thing when and we know this, like you guys know this because you're Chiefs. Like, if you draft a guy in that 30, 32 spot, if he doesn't start right away, that's fine. Even though he is a first rounder, the projection is, hey, he'll either start by the end of the year or he'll start next year when everything comes around. But you draft a guy in the top 10, he has to start. And that's, again, another reason why he fell. So again, it looks like it might be a steal for the Chiefs.
Yeah. Cole, I think you're absolutely right. You're talking to a former offensive lineman. Trenches win championships. So I agree with you on that front. But let's flip body types and to Cody's realm of things, to defensive backs. 2022, they draft basically their entire secondary. They let Justin Reed walk in this offseason to basically, all right, all of you play. Basically, every one of those guys is going to get paid by either the Chiefs or somebody else this offseason. Do you expect this secondary to be better, worse? Where do you see this defense going, just because it's already been one of the top 2, top 3 in the league for the last couple years? Is it going to stay at that incredibly high level?
Yeah, I might actually be more excited about the defense this year than the offense, although I love fireworks and everybody loves 2018 Mahomes, 5,000 yards, 50 TDs. It just doesn't look like that anymore in Kansas City. Now, I think the offense takes a step up, but the defense for sure should take a pretty big step up if the moves that they made pan out how I think they will in my head, because you added Christian Fulton in the secondary, outside corner. That alone has Fulton and Jalen Watson on the outside when needed, and Trent McDuffie can kick inside to the slot anytime, where he was first team All-Pro elite. That would allow Chamari Connor, You can move him back to safety spot, and that will help the Chiefs in the middle of the field. You then also got Noel Williams in the 3rd round of the draft, who might be my favorite pick, although we don't know how much he'll actually play his rookie year on defense because, again, the cornerback room now is pretty competitive, but he was a ball hawk. 7 interceptions last year, bunch of passes defense, 14 in his college career. Just a playmaker, maybe lacks a little bit of top-end speed, but he's a physical press corner. And the safety room might take a little bit of a step back with Justin Reed gone. I mean, I think they expect big things out of Jaden Hicks, who was arguably the best safety in his draft class that the Chiefs got him in the 4th round. So I'm very excited about the cornerback room. We'll see about the safety room. I think if the cornerback room takes a few steps up from last year, again, that Jalen Watson went down with that ankle injury and you traded Snead. So then you're like just trying to figure it out. You tried Chamari Connor in the slot. That didn't really work either. What the better coverage for the Chiefs secondary should allow to happen as well is a more effective, efficient pass rush that I felt like took a little bit of a step back last year. But I think you could just throw effort balls to whoever was not Trent McDuffie. You could calculate those things pre-snap, and the pass rush, I mean, they suffered because of it. I think it was a domino effect along the entire defense, combined with maybe even the limitations of Nick Bolton's ability to be a highly above average coverage linebacker. Like, that's just not his forte. So combine that with the coverage issues, and the whole defense did struggle compared to 2023, even though they were like top 10 in most metrics.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought they were squarely middle class in the NFL last year. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact, like you mentioned, you lose Watson, and it was just kind of sit and pray and hope that nobody throws it over there, and McDuffie basically closing down one side. I'm a little bit worried about Fulton just because he kind of fell off last year with the Chargers. The Chiefs want to press and they want to play zone. That's what they want to do. So like you said, the Noel Williams pick is a really good pick because he comes from kind of a press zone system. So that fits what he's doing. I think defensively, you kind of hit it. I think, Nick Bolton will be interesting as they go on. There's just limitations there. He's a box guy. I think they like Chenal because he's kind of a toolbox guy. He can do anything. Tranquil is kind of that pure will linebacker, money backer in the NFL. I think he fits perfectly. Bolton, on the other hand, to me, he's he's decent in everything, but he doesn't add value anywhere else, right? So it's like if you can, I think that's why you draft a guy like Jeffrey Bossa, and maybe you can find something behind him and he can kind of push for that as well. Then too, like you said, I don't think they will get rid of Karl Loftus. I think Karl Loftus fits this defense perfectly. I think the excitement here has to be that if we can find a second corner or a third corner, and we can kick McDuffie back inside, I think it cleans this up. I was really surprised. One of the things that was unique about the Chiefs last year was their 3 safety package. And then on top of that, playing in dime with 4 safeties and being able to do a lot of things that a lot of other NFL teams can't. So I'm excited to see how that works because I'm high on the Jaden Hicks kid. And that's the reason why they let Reed walk.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely why. Save money too, because
yes,
you gotta, when you're the Chiefs and you've got these big contracts, you mentioned it, but like Chris Jones, massive cap hit, Patrick Mahomes getting paid a lot of money. Like you just kind of look around like the O-line, Trey Smith on the franchise tag, Jawan Taylor, his cap hit this year is like $27 million. So you have to be calculated and pretty strategic. That's why even their free agency moves, Fulton wasn't a top corner, but you get him on a pretty cheap or a cost-friendly deal.
Yeah,
same with
exactly.
Jalen Moore on the left tackle spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jawan Taylor. Good God, I can't wait till they get rid of that contract. I wasn't a big Mitchell Schwartz fan. It makes me miss him. So I mean, good Lord. Or not Mitchell Schwartz. Whatever the guy who went to Washington's name is. He's no longer a Chief. It doesn't matter. So taking a look at the entire division as a whole, it's been a lot of years of teams trading picks, spending literally $500 million in an offseason on quarterbacks, edge rushers, all that stuff, and Kansas City keeps winning. Now I think that there is some legitimate worry because there's some legit coaching. We saw last year Jim Harbaugh come in, Sean Payton's figuring it out. Congratulations, Cody. And now Pete Carroll heading to Vegas with the Raiders. There's some legit coaching with Andy Reid, some guys who have been around the block for a while. It's not just, oh, Ben Johnson's a coordinator who's getting a job and we'll see how it works out. These are guys who know what they're doing. How do you feel about the entire division? Obviously, confidence in Kansas City, but teams are climbing.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know that I'm not ultra concerned that the Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs, another deep run or anything like that. But the skill gap or just the overall talent in the AFC West, I think where you could, a few years ago, you could say like the Chiefs are like a skyscraper above everybody else. It is definitely not that anymore. Just you look at the Chargers in 1 year, Harbaugh took the basically the same roster that won 5 games a year prior to the playoffs. And then obviously with Peyton, he just wanted to move on from Russell Wilson. You get Bo Nix, and while eating up a ton of dead money still from the Russell Wilson contract last year, and then it's still like 30-something million this year, they were able to, I don't think did they make the playoffs?
Yes.
They did make the playoffs. Yeah, right at the end there. So there was 3 teams from the AFC West that made the playoffs, and then the NFC North. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see the Broncos, the Chargers right back in a competitive mix for a playoff spot again, and maybe even making a push for the West. I still think the Chiefs probably win the West for the 10th consecutive season or whatever it is, but it is much respect to the Broncos and the Chargers for sure. I still think the Raiders probably finish 4th in the AFC West, but they are getting better. Like the moves they made, I like Brock Bowers a lot, Max Crosby, they got Geno, Pete Carroll. There's just a lot that can be said about bringing stability via tenured, longtime vet head coaches that just know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are still squarely 4th just because they kind of offloaded some guys on defense. I think Carroll kind of gives them a stability that they didn't have. The Chargers, I think, are probably 3rd, just with they still have some things on offense they got to figure out. And then I think the Broncos, if they can stay healthy, if you have that, second year with Bo Nix, full offseason, he has a little bit of rise. If there's a team that's going to push it, it's probably Denver. And I know I'm a Broncos fan, but I'm just saying that just in terms of that. I think you do get 3 teams from the West again in the playoffs because I just don't see. It's too competitive, and I just think the talent in that division. There's other divisions are still trying to figure it out. Like, what's going on in the East? I don't know. The South is still atrociously bad, and then you have the Central is just going to beat each other up. That'll be the thing. Is like who will not beat each other up the most? It will be from the West and the Central or the North.
Oh, I was going to say the Central. Nice.
I know, rolling it back. Well, because I was thinking
before my time.
When we were talking about this, it reminds me when I was a kid, when the AFC West was just like so much better than every division. And I think like the coaching in this division and everything else, it just kind of reminds me of back. Like, so I just kind of had a flashback. So that's where that came from.
The Chargers are still in San Diego in here, and they play in Qualcomm. So it doesn't, none of that matters. So Cole, we really appreciate your time. I'll give you a chance to plug anything you may have, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, sure. Just how about those Chiefs wherever. YouTube is the primary hub for me. I started a second channel last season, Cole Breaks the Huddle, where I cover NFL wide news and just kind of react to that stuff around the league. But that's about it. I'm just honored to be here. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Just everything that you've kind of developed from an app standpoint using AI and like visuals, like it's very intriguing to me. So I'm excited to see how that continues to look as time goes on as well.
I appreciate
Absolutely. I appreciate it. You can follow Cody as you see. I'm not going to try it again like I did yesterday. You can see his little
underscore
handle right there. Underscores are stupid. Follow me. You see my thing right there. I'm not going to – letters are hard. I'm not doing that either. Follow us on Instagram at fieldvisionsports, on X at fieldvisionmi, and join us next week.